You are watching the most interactive professional wrestling discussion show on the internet. WWE Impact Wrestling.
ROH Wrestling.
Pro wrestling at its finest on In the Hot Seat with your host, Fort Miners Project.
Alright, what's going on, guys, and welcome to this week's episode for In the Hot Seat. Of course, as always, I got a great show lined up for you guys, and I'm back here for more great topics and discussions right here for In the Hot Seat, and I'm being joined by my brand new guest right here with me, and would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Thrash Maniac 99.
Alright, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show. I'm going to kick things off here with the first topic, and what are your thoughts on Sheamus? Do you buy him as a world champion, and do you think it's going to take some time for fans to get behind him, even though it's been a little bit of a 50-50 thing between the fans with Sheamus? And how do you feel about Sheamus being world champion overall?
Well, overall, I think it's pretty cool that Sheamus is the world heavyweight champion. He's definitely deserving, even though he was already WWE champion twice. Now that he's won both titles. But as far as with the crowd reactions, I think eventually fans will get behind Sheamus, since they've now pretty much kind of moved away from the Sheamus-Daniel Bryan feud that was happening in the last few months, stuff like that. Because basically when they were feuding, basically fans were just sticking behind Daniel Bryan. But now that they moved away from it, now Daniel Bryan seems to be going after the WWE title with CM Punk, which will be an awesome match. I think now that Sheamus is involved with the feud with why am I saying Daniel Bryan? Alberto Del Rio. I think it's going to be a good feud between those two, and I think people are going to start getting behind Sheamus a little bit better, I would say.
And honestly, to me, I think it's fine that Sheamus won the World Heavyweight Championship. I didn't like how he won it in 18 seconds like that. I think, to me, for an 18-second match, that should be safe for Raw or SmackDown, or just a build-up going into the pay-per-view and not having it at the pay-per-view. So, in time, eventually, I'm sure fans will get behind Sheamus, and now he's going to be facing Alberto Del Rio, which should be a great match. I'm looking forward for that, and he's had a good match with Daniel Bryan at Extreme Rules, which made up for the WrestleMania 28 match, I thought, anyway. So, we probably will get another match between Sheamus and Daniel Bryan for the world title, maybe a triple threat with Chris Jericho, like I mentioned before. I think that would be a nice triple threat match for SummerSlam, and even if that's not going to happen, maybe have a singles match. So we'll have to tune in and see what's going to be happening with that. So eventually, in time, I think people will get behind Sheamus, and I think he's fine being world champion as of right now. And I just want to see what's going to be happening next. So I don't really have too much of a problem with Sheamus being world champion as of right now. And moving into the next topic, and that is going with Stephanie McMahon. We haven't seen her as a main character. We've seen her with CM Punk once before backstage a while ago. And what are your thoughts on Stephanie McMahon? Do you think she will come back as a main screen character, or do you see her just staying backstage and not doing anything at all? And how do you feel about that?
Well, I would love to see Stephanie McMahon back on TV as a main character, because she is just so smoking hot.
I don't blame you there.
But as far as her coming back as a main screen character, I would like to see her. What I would like to see is her be like working together with Triple H, since Triple H is now the COO and everything. I think it'd be cool. Maybe they can make Triple H as a heel again, like it was in 2000, into as the McMahon Helmsley era. Maybe they can bring that back somehow. I know it's been done, but I would love to see that back. But as of right now, I would probably just see her being backstage all the time right now, it looks like.
Yeah, I would love nothing more to have Stephanie McMahon come back as an on-screen character. She was great as a heel, working with Triple H like you said and everything. So I think that was cool, and maybe if they can bring it back, maybe every once in a while, and maybe work with John Laurinaitis and have something different instead of working with Triple H. I think that would be pretty interesting to see how they would be working, even though Eve is basically working with John Laurinaitis. So if they can have Stephanie McMahon come back as that role and do something like that, it doesn't have to be permanently. It can be once in a while, and I think that would be pretty cool just to see Stephanie McMahon back. And I thought she was a really great heel, and I would love to see Stephanie McMahon back. So that's it when it comes to my brief thoughts on that. And getting into with some
well,
of the...
actually, real quick, I just thought of something interesting.
Go
Now
ahead,
that you
champ.
said that whole thing with Lauren Ice and Eve,
Mm-hmm.
heck, what would be interesting, maybe Stephanie could get involved in a little feud with Eve or something like that, and like we could see like a little mixed tag thing, Lauren Ice and Eve against Triple H and Stephanie. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, that would be interesting, but I don't really want to see Stephanie McMahon wrestle. I just want to see her back as an on-screen character and being like a manager type of role type of thing. I don't really see her going back into the ring anytime soon anyway, since she's pretty much been there, done that. So, that's a pretty cool idea. I respect your opinion on that. So, that's really cool when it comes to that. And getting into the next topic, and speaking of John Laurinaitis, he has been bringing in some new talent like Damien Sandow and guys like that. And with Lord Tensei, Ryback, and all those guys. And how do you feel about all those people coming into the company under the People Power era? What are your thoughts on the People Power thing and John Laurinaitis as general manager for both shows? How do you feel about that, and what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, personally, I'm not a big fan of John Laurinaitis. I think his gimmick's kind of overdone right now, if you ask me. But it's interesting what they're doing with him, I will say. I think it's cool what they're doing with him. I just don't really like the guy that much. But as far as the people he's bringing in, like bringing back Lord Tensai Albert, I think it's cool that they brought him back because I've heard he's been getting better as an in-ring performer, unlike how he was like 10 years ago when he was just having a bunch of squash matches and stuff and getting involved with like Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, and all that. Now that he's a better in-ring performer, it seems, I think it looks like he might even maybe later in the year may even go for a world title possibly, if you ask me. And as far as Damien Sandow, I like some of those gimmicks where they bring in people and they act like cocky, smart people, and I could end up liking this people actually wrestle. I mean, I heard he was supposed to have made his debut on SmackDown. I guess I'm not on SmackDown. I don't watch it that much, but I heard he like backed out of the match or something like that, and I guess Ryback took place in the match or something. So I could end up liking this guy if he will wrestle.
Yeah, I'm sure eventually he will start wrestling. I didn't like how he just backed out of the match and, just went to the back right after that. So I don't really have anything to say about Damien Sandow as of right now. I'm sure he's a good wrestler and everything. Hopefully by next week he will, this week I should say, since I'm taping this on Sunday. So I'm sure by the next episode for SmackDown we will see Damien Sandow doing other things and start wrestling. And as for the whole one with John Laurinaitis and everything, I've been enjoying it. I think he's doing a good job as general manager for both shows. I'm really interested to see how he's going to be going up against John Cena. I never seen him wrestle. It's not like I'm going to see a lot out of John Laurinaitis anyway, so I think that would be pretty interesting. I'm sure maybe Lord Tensai will get into the mix and have this as like a handicap type of match, so that's going to be definitely interesting there as well. And I like that we're seeing other people come back and seeing fresh faces into the company under the People Power era, so I have been enjoying that, and that's it when it comes to my thoughts. And getting into the last topic that I do have here, and that is getting into with the Alliance days, of course, with the WWF going at it with WCW and ECW, and how do you feel about the whole invasion angle, and what are your thoughts about that?
Well, actually, I know a lot of people didn't really like the invasion storyline, but I actually really loved the invasion storyline because I was getting to see guys. Because I was about like 6, 7 years old when this all happened, and I thought, who are these guys? Because I was only watching WWE at the time when I was like 3 or 4 when I started getting into wrestling. Then when I saw guys like RVD and Tommy Dreamer and DDP Booker T coming out, I was thinking, who are these guys? And then I eventually researched them later on, and I thought, oh, these guys are cool. So I really liked the invasion storyline, but I was just a kid when that all happened. So looking back on now, it was kind of really, but I enjoyed it for the time being because I got to see some cool matches involving different mix of people like Stone Cold versus RVD, for instance. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm in the same thing with you too as well. I know it's not exactly everyone's favorite, but for me, breaking into wrestling at the time, it got me introduced with The Rock, and I just wanted to see what was going on. And I never really seen some of the guys from WCW because I never watched WCW before, and just getting introduced to those different kinds of people. And we did get to see a lot of good matches out of it just by rewatching Rebellion, which I did a review on, and I'll be uploading that right before In the Hot Seat too as well. So just by looking back at it, it really was, I thought, a good angle between those three companies to see who's going to be sticking around. And of course the WWF, of course, ended up staying around and still around to this day. So I thought it was a good angle that they did that, and basically it was cool for someone like me who was getting into wrestling at the time. So I really enjoyed it, and that's all I gotta say about that with my brief thoughts on that. So overall, I thought it was a cool angle with the invasion angle. And I know there's a topic that you wanted to talk about before we actually started the show here, and you wanted to talk about with the Money in the Bank, who's going to be winning it. How do you feel about that, and what are your thoughts, and who do you think should win the Money in the Bank for this year?
Well, it was rumored earlier in the year that we was going to see Money in the Bank happen at WrestleMania because they were going to make Wade Barrett win the Money in the Bank, which would be awesome. So, of course, we knew he got injured his elbow, and he's going to be out for a little while. I'd say when they do the Money in the Bank matches at Money in the Bank this year, I say maybe Wade Barrett will come back and he'll win Money in the Bank, and he could go after the WWE title or something like that. At least for the SmackDown side of the Money in the Bank match. The Raw side, it's kind of hard to say. Maybe Dolph Ziggler could win it. I think.
Alright, so apparently I had a little distraction there. So as you were saying, with the Raw side and the Money in the Bank, who do you think should win the Money in the Bank for the Raw side?
Well, if you ask me, because there's a bunch of possibilities. You can probably see maybe R-Truth, or maybe even The Miz could win Money in the Bank again, which probably won't happen. Or you could see guys like Jack Swagger win again, or Dolph Ziggler. Most likely, I would say probably it will be Dolph Ziggler, if you ask me. And then the SmackDown side, like I was saying, would be Wade Barrett if he comes back at the pay-per-view, which I think will probably happen.
Yeah. To me, I did look back on this and looked on the site to see who was going to be winning for the Money in the Bank and who I would like to see anyway for this year. And it is pretty early call to see who is going to be winning the Money in the Bank. Wade Barrett is definitely a possibility. The Miz, I'm not really too sure. I don't really think he needs the Money in the Bank to come out and top and be WWE Champion and World Champion again. I think he can win it like being in part of a #1 contenders match on Raw or SmackDown, so I think he would be fine with that. Two people that I think could possibly win it, probably even have Dolph Ziggler or Cody Rhodes. Those are the possible two people that I see winning the Money in the Bank for this year as of right now, so it is pretty early to call who's going to be winning it. I am going to be looking forward for it, and I do think it is a memorable pay-per-view for Money in the Bank, so I have been enjoying the last 2 years of it, so I cannot wait, and definitely one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. So that's just my thoughts as of right now. I might do a video on that once we get closer to Money in the Bank, so that's going to be great there. And that about does it for this week's episode for In the Hot Seat. With all the topics that I do have planned, do you have any Twitter shoutouts or regular shoutouts in general, and anything that you want to plug to as well?
Yes, for those of you who watch this, my YouTube channel is ThrashManiac99. My Twitter is ThrashManiac99. And a quick announcement, I did a video recently, and I announced I'm going to be doing a Q&A sometime this week. And I want to make it the biggest one ever.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
So far I've gotten a lot of questions, but I want to get a lot more. I want to make it so big.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome too, and I would definitely leave all the links down below for everyone to check you out, and definitely be sure to comment on what we talked about. Feel free to leave a like on this video, send your feedback as well. Go check out my guest's channel, and also go check out the Wrestling for Wings channel as well, which will also be in the description box for you guys to check out. If you haven't checked out our family group already, go follow me on Twitter, which is @DaveRivera1989 for the latest. And that about does it for this week's episode for In the Hot Seat. Of course, we'll be back next week, definitely, for more In the Hot Seat and with more topics, more discussion. And until then, see you guys and have a great day. See you.